The software Bisque Paramount MyT is one of the most esteemed mounts an amateur astrophotographer can get their hands on. With a high payload, ridiculously accurate tracking, and several smart features, we could consider the Paramount MyT to be a dream mount for amateur astrophotographers. However, is this product worth the $6,000 investment? How does it compare with other beginner mounts?
We've been using the Paramount MyT for the past year. It is now time to share our honest review. We could talk about this mount for hours, but if you guys know us on Galactic Hunter, we like to keep things simple and we don't like going too much in depth about all the technical stuff. So we're going to cover only what we think is really important from our point of view.
Yes, and that would be how much the mount weighs, how much it can handle, if it's difficult to use, its setup time, and also, most importantly, how it performs. And if you'd like, full details about the technical aspects of this mount, software Bisque does have a PDF full of all the information that you need on their website.
All right, here we go.
The mount came in 2 separate boxes, with a third box that included the tripod. Watch our full unboxing video to see what's in store.
So what's in the box?
The software Bisque Paramount MyT mount, a counterweight shaft, a 20-pound counterweight, the hand controller, power cables, USB cables and more, a full set of hex keys, knobs to lock the base, the manual, a USB flash drive to install the SkyX. Then we have the tripod and the tripod soft carrying case. Everything was well packaged. The user manual may look thick and intimidating, but we definitely recommend taking the time to read it or scanning through each page.
It contains important information about how to operate the mount. We also encourage you to read the paper included in the box with the mount head because it explains how to handle and lift it without damaging the gears. Don't be the person who breaks an expensive mount on the first day.
As for the tripod, we were glad that it came with its own carrying case. We usually leave our Atlas EQG's tripod in our trunk, and it always drives us crazy rolling around when driving. With the carrying case, that is no longer an issue.
There are just 2 things that we feel are missing and should have been included with the price though. The first is a power cable adapter to connect the mount with the deep cycle battery, and the second is a through the mount cable, which we'll explain more about later.
In terms of size, the Paramount MyT mount is not that different from other amateur mounts. The mount head weighs 34 pounds and, when attached to the tripod, has the exact same weight as our Atlas EQG mount, 54 pounds.
So Antoine, is the Paramount MyT mount more difficult to assemble than other amateur astrophotography mounts?
Well, it can be tricky at first, but you really have to go through the manual and look at it. You might find yourself having some trouble at first. It might take you some more time, but after a while you get used to it and you know exactly how to assemble it really quickly. So in the end, both this mount and any popular mount takes about the same time to set up.
Here is a quick rundown on how to set up this mount. Set the tripod down, extend the legs if needed, and set the base to your desired height. Make sure the mount head is locked on both axes and attach it to the tripod. Secure the mount head using the 4 included knobs. Set the correct altitude. This may be a struggle the first time you try it, So what you want to do is reach under the mount with one hand and then lift with the other while locking into your desired position using your fingers. This can be an annoying step, but it will get easier the more times you do it. Next, screw in the counterweight shaft. Then insert the desired number of counterweights. And don't forget the toe saver. Untighten the dovetail and then attach your telescope to the mount.
The VersaPlate of the MyT mount only accepts wide dovetails, for example Elo's Mandy style dovetail. In our case, we had to switch our old dovetail with a wide one that fits on the mount. About the hand controller, although software Bisque includes a hand controller with the mount that I like to call the joystick, you do not need to use it. We have only plugged it in once, but quickly realized it was really useless considering you can do everything through the SkyX.
A nice addition to the joystick is an integrated red light, which can be turned off or on at will.
Let's discuss the mount's specs and see if it's really worth the price.
First of all, we know that it's not important and won't make the mount work better, but the design is absolutely beautiful. Made of aluminum with a red finish, the Paramount MyT may match with products from other companies who also like to use red accents. Now, let's get to the real specs.
The software Bisque Paramount MyT mount has a payload of 100 pounds, including the counterweights. That means it can carry about 50 pounds worth of equipment.
Even with the full load, the Paramount MyT can slew quite fast at 6 degrees. It actually scared us at first because it was almost twice the speed of our usual mount, the Atlas EQG, which goes at 3.4 degrees per second. Also, it is very quiet. When tracking, the mount sounds like it's like a little cat purring.
The MyT mount has plenty of ports to plug in your accessories.
So, we believe that the location of these ports, as well as the ability to have them go through the mount, really makes a difference for cable management. That means that you can slip a autofocuser cable through the mount, and that would essentially just be one less dangling cable to worry about, which, as you know, can be a problem.
And this is great for permanent setups, but for us we don't use a through-the-mount cabling. Instead, we got our hands on a what is still called through-the-mount, but it's not. So it's a pair of cables. This is one of them, and it connects either to the bottom of the mount or to the dove plate there, and supply powers to the accessories you have. So for example, for us, this cable connects to the bottom here and goes to the battery, whereas the other cable directly catches up the power from here on the top and goes to our telescope. So it's amazing because there is no more cable going flying everywhere when you're slewing the mount. So you can slew as much as you want. There will be no cable going from the telescope to the ground. So it's really safe and amazing. I love that so much.
One of the most exciting features about this mount is that it's known for its ability to track with extreme accuracy. It completely eliminates the need for guiding if you do not intend to take insanely long exposures. So how does the Paramount MyT do it? Well, it calibrates using T-points.
After setting up the mount, polar aligning, and connecting everything to the software, you can run a T-point model with your desired number of points. 250 points is usually more than enough and can take more than 30 minutes to finish calibrating. When launching a T-points model, the mount will slew to each of these locations, plate solve, and map the current sky into the software. In short, it is in a way similar to a basic 3-star alignment, but with much more stars and a much smaller device. If you selected a high number of points, then the tracking is likely to be excellent and you would not need an autoguider, even at long focal length. To activate this smart tracking, you just click on Pro Track in the SkyX, and voila!
How long can the mount track well without guiding?
So we ran some tests. We started with 30 seconds unguided. So after running a T-point, we did 30 seconds on a target, the Flaming Star Nebula. And of course, 30 seconds is pretty easy, right? As long as you have a good polar alignment, any mount can do it. So obviously this mount aced it. 30 seconds shows pinpoint stars. Then we moved to 5 minutes. Now, 5 minutes is much more difficult. I believe most mounts can do 3 minutes at max if you have a good polar alignment. But this mount, once again, aced the 5-minute test. As you can see here, the stars are round and pinpoint. Then on the same night, we did 10 minutes. Now, 10 minutes is pretty crazy, especially at, I think our focal length was 650mm, around there. And well, on that night, 10 minutes was not good. It started to drift away. We really wanted to do another test, so we tried again on a different night, but this time doing more T-points. So with like 300 T-points, so a really good model. We tried 10 minutes once again, unguided, on the Pelican Nebula this time. Same telescope, same camera, everything. And this time, as you can see here, the result is amazing. There is no drift at all. Every star is round and pinpoint. And as a matter of fact, this whole night we imaged this target unguided for the whole night. And it was fantastic.
Yes, so on top of that, what's really cool is that you can continue imaging 2 hours past the meridian, which means that you still have 2 hours of imaging, no problem, before you have to do a meridian flip.
Now, what about the price?
So the mount head alone is going to set you back $6,000, which is pretty crazy, and you'll have to invest an additional $1,150 to $1,350 thousand hundred, sorry, for just the tripod alone. So
that's a lot.
It's pretty pricey.
So do we think it's a lot? Well, the answer is yes. That's a lot of money. Now, for a beginner, if you're a complete beginner, we would suggest getting a mount that is under $2,000. You don't need a mount that's super expensive. I think between $1,000 and maybe $1,800 is a good mount for a beginner. Now, this one, if you want to take a leap of faith, or if you have the money, simply, you could get this mount, and it's going to, of course, perform really well. Another point is, if you have a permanent installation at home, this mount is a great observatory mount for the price, for sure.
Totally. So the key here is to think about the long term. It's difficult for us to say exactly whether the Paramount MyT mount is actually an expensive amateur astrophotography mount or if it is an affordable professional grade mount. It's really for you to decide. So if you like to think about it, the glass may be half full on that.
The MyT Paramount comes with a free 1-year subscription to a full-feature planetarium software, the SkyX. This would allow you to control every electronic piece of equipment directly through the mount.
So, what can you connect?
The mount, an imaging camera, a video camera, a filter wheel, a focuser, a rotator, an autoguider, and a dome. As you can see, you can connect to almost everything in your arsenal with one software. However, it does have its drawbacks. It is difficult to learn, it has an expensive yearly subscriptions if you care about updates, and the auto-stretch feature is pretty bad. We now use SGP, which easily connects to the SkyX through ASCON. The main reason why we switched to SGP is because the SkyX could not do automatic meridian flips.
Here are the pros. The mount's tracking accuracy. Obviously, this is what matters the most. The main job of a German equatorial mount is to track the sky, and this one does a terrific job at it. The test that we've run completely blew us away. We absolutely love letting this software create T-point models and engage the mount's smart tracking feature.
Disengaging the worm from the gear. This is very important to us as we almost always image away from home and carry the mount everywhere. Being able to lock both axes and disengage the worm will help ensure that the gear does not get damaged on the road. In short, this is a nice way to increase the life of the mount.
The smart cable management possibilities. We absolutely love the ports on the VersaPlate. It allows us to plug short cables right from the camera, guide, focuser, whatever, under the dovetail. This eliminates the risk of cables getting stuck when slewing the mount.
Software Bisque's craftsmanship. The Paramount MyT is absolutely beautiful. It looks well built, sturdy, and has a great payload capacity, without being larger than most other mounts. The ports are well placed and we could not find anything wrong with the overall design.
The SkyX overall. The software that comes with the mount, the SkyX, is not perfect. It is difficult to learn, and there are a few things that should be improved for better user experience. However, after taking the time to learn how to use it, the software is really great. The cons.
The mount is missing an important cable adapter. There are two things that really bothered us when we received the mount. The first is that if a person pays more than $6,000 for this product, they should receive an adapter or cable to use this mount with a deep cycle battery. The only power cord that came with the mount is the brick that plugs into the power outlet. We had no choice but to purchase an inverter and a second deep cycle battery just to power the mount on the field. Not cool.
The second thing that bothered us was that when we tried using the mount for the first time, there was no right way to attach our telescopes to it because they all used a regular sized dovetail.
The SkyX, some of it. While it is nice for them to include the software with the purchase, afterwards it makes no sense to have to pay $100 for the updates. There were three things we don't like about the SkyX. First, the fit viewer, which is a preview that appears when you take an image. It's pretty bad, and the histogram is really terrible. Second, the software will eat your laptop's battery in no time. Expect the fan to be at full capacity as soon as you launch the SkyX. That can be a deal breaker when imaging far from home. We actively try to avoid draining our deep cycle batteries, and that is difficult when you have to charge your laptop while imaging. It takes about 45 minutes for the SkyX to completely drain our laptop battery. And third, the lack of automatic meridian flip is truly annoying, which is why we switched to SGP.
Okay, so we made this video like about 6-8 months ago, and now
Things have changed.
Yeah. So before we upload this video, we have to add a couple of things that happened recently. And so number one is this mount can be very annoying in terms of so when we got it, the second one it worked fine, and then we changed our telescope, which was a different weight. So we went from a refractor to, for example, this one. And once we made that change, we noticed that there was some RA spikes in the guiding, only in I think it was a south. So it made no sense to us, and we spent hours and hours looking it up.
It was very frustrating.
The way we had to fix it was there are some screws that are called the spring plunger adjustment screws, which are on each axis, so RA and deck, and you have to actually open up the cover here and play with those screws. And I'm telling you guys, it's a pain if you're not used to it. It took me nights and nights and nights and nights. I started to hate the mount, honestly, and but once I was able to fix it, to fix the guiding with a friend of mine, we were able to actually achieve a good guiding, and then it worked fine. But just so you know, those spring plunger adjustment screws, you will have to learn about them. You will have to learn about them because most likely you will have to play with them at some point, and you might go crazy a few nights. But if you know how to master them, then you'll be fine.
And also kind of on that vibe a little bit, if you are seeking help, Antoine reached out to his friend because he was having a lot of trouble searching hours and hours on the support forum from the MyT mount. So just know that if you need help, the support is not as good as it can be.
It's like a forum, so you have to go on the forum and you have to sign in first. You can't even access the forum without signing up. And once you're on there is like thousands and thousands of posts about issues, and yours just get lost in there. It's people get help, but it's it takes days, and it's by forum, so they ask you, you have to. They always say the same thing. They always ask you to do some tests with the telescope and the camera at a certain angle and stuff, but it's just it's not easy. And then the last thing we want to add before we had this video online is overall this mount is more fragile than any beginner mount. Like for example the Atlas or the EQ6R, those are crazy reliable.
Really easy to use, no problems.
This mount, you will have some problems once in a while. Maybe if you're lucky you won't, but we did, and we still love the mount, but we did have some problems. And once again, those screws over here are we hate those screws. And then overall, we would suggest getting this mount if you know for sure you plan to master it. So if you want to get this mount, you might have issues, maybe not. But if you do, you will have to master it. You will have to research. You will have to read the whole manual. You will have to know about those screws. Don't get this mount if you don't plan to learn all about it.
If you're looking for easier to manage mounts, probably go with something else. This is definitely worth the investment as long as you're willing to take the challenges that come with it.
Yes, so get this mount if you plan to master it completely. Just become one with the mount. Back to the end of the review.
So, in conclusion, how do we feel about the software Bisque Paramount MyT mount? We can say that in 5 words: we wish we upgraded sooner. So this mount has been absolutely incredible, and although the first one that we had some technical issues, we returned it, and the one that we currently use is amazing, and honestly it's kind of a dream mount.
It slows really fast, it tracks really well, great payload, pretty simple to set up. I mean, the cables, the through-the-mount cables, that's pretty fantastic. Anyway, I think the key here is if you really want a mount that's going to last you maybe a lifetime, this may be a steep learning curve and a bit of a pricey mount, but you might thank yourself later to have purchased this mount if you really want to get something for the long term. Now we are really grateful for OPT who sent us this mount, so thank you so much OPT, by the way. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email us or comment below, whatever you want. We usually reply to everyone, so we can help you out if you have any questions about the mount, or if you need help with how to set it up or how to use it. And then we have a more in-depth blog post online, a written review about the mount if you want to check it out. So we'll see you guys next time, and cheers guys.